Detroit Lions fans, Detroit Den 313 back with another one. Stephen Will here, still in Atlanta, last day here, ready to get the heck out of here. People have been relatively, Steve, I was telling you, people have been relatively chill, man. It's the fan base here doesn't really feel like they're about their teams. Like I'm rocking my Lions gear. There's no comments. There's no light razzing. It's just been all Waffle Houses and love, honestly. I mean, if I'm being honest. So yeah, not really. I can appreciate it, but not really my vibe, man. I kind of like the chippiness. I kind of like hey, what are you doing here? Hey, we own this place.
Yeah,
that's how I was in Chicago. What do you mean? What am I doing here? I'm
right at home. I think when you blow a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, you really can't talk trash for like 20 years. So I don't know. Maybe that has something to do with it. Yeah, what are we talking today, Will? Kind of a little bit of controversy, hot topic.
Yeah, I was actually, I'll say kind of surprised after getting on Twitter and seeing we signed Marcus Davenport. I didn't see that part on Twitter, but on Twitter, people were kind of going nuts a little bit. There's a lot of people questioning Brad Holmes. There's a lot of people saying, why would we sign a guy that's no good, that's always injured, and, all of the things. So I guess I'll start this thing off with, we signed Marcus Davenport, 1 year, prove it deal, $4.75 million. Steve, how do you feel about it?
The length and the money is not the concern. Listen, if people out there think that this is the biggest move Brad Holmes is going to make in free agency, I don't think it is, but as I'm saying the words, I'm sitting here thinking, like, what if it is the biggest move he makes in free agency? I don't know. I personally think I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that we're going to add another piece somewhere before kickoff of the 2025 season. So if Marcus Davenport doesn't tickle your fancy, I'm sure that either in free agency or the draft, another move is going to be made for a pass rusher. So I was just as surprised as you were, borderline shocked. Like, I thought our last game seeing Marcus Davenport was out there in the desert when we played the Cardinals. And I know he got taken out for the season on a dirty hit. It was a dirty hit by, I think it was it Paris Johnson, the old Ohio State left tackle, that I think chopped his arm down and broke his forearm on just an unnecessary play. But I really thought that was the last time we'd see Marcus Davenport in a Lions uniform once they said he was out for the season. So we haven't really hinted at him much. We haven't talked about him much as free agency. I think I was just under the impression that, he's gone. Good luck in the future. But here he is. He's back. I don't know, Will. The only question I've ever had, and it's the same question we had last year, is availability and dependability. Like, is he going to be able to stay healthy for 17 games? Because I have strong doubts that Marcus Davenport sees it to the bye week. And if our schedule is anything like last year and our bye weeks in week 5, my feelings are the same. Like, will Marcus Davenport survive those 4 weeks and get you to the bye week? I don't know. It's just a question for me.
So my thing is this, Steve. $4.75 million for one season for a guy who's an ex-first round draft pick, which, say what you want about that part, but he's a freak. And if you watched anything about his bull rushes while he's been in Detroit or anywhere else in the league, when this man decides he's going to bull rush, he's a problem. He's a problem. He looks like a man dealing with children. So for me, I'm honestly excited, in the same boat as some other people, but then I started to look at how many games he's played over his career. So here, 13 games, then 13 games, then 11, then 11, then 13. It's really the last 2 seasons that he's been out for. He only played 4 games in 2023 and then 2 games last year. So it's really not as bad as even I thought when I really looked at the whole scope of things. So if we can get that Marcus Davenport that plays most of a season for $4.75 million, he's going to be a problem. And I love the idea of having him as a rotational piece, still having Zadarius Smith potentially, and then whoever we draft. So does that make you feel any better about it, or are you still pretty much in the same boat?
I'm in the same boat. Listen, it's not about his talent. He's 6'6", 265 pounds. He's the perfect size for a defensive end. It's literally, can he stay on the football field? I know what he's capable of. I know he's not a massive producer. The last time he had any type of decent season, I say we have to go back to 2021 where he had 9 sacks, and that was his career high. So I don't think we're going to be getting that, but I don't know. I'm not over the moon. Like I said, I'm still a little surprised that this is someone we're bringing back, just because of the dependability issues. But for the price and for the length of the term, I think it's just it's a good deal, but it's not anything that's going to move the needle for me. So you mentioned the draft, so let me ask you this: does this change your draft strategy at all?
Yes and no. Yes and no. Excuse me. When I think about having Zadarius and Marcus Davenport, it does make me, and maybe Steve, I gotta be honest, maybe I'm biased. I love these defensive tackles, so it makes me a little bit more comfortable with grabbing one of these defensive tackles and not reaching for an edge rusher, because I like the idea of Zadarius. I like the idea of Marcus Davenport. I like the idea of Calais Campbell. Oh, we haven't got him yet. That's Wednesday. Never mind. That's Wednesday. We'll talk about that Wednesday.
78-year-old Calais Campbell.
Yeah, I think. Hey, listen, I was saying the same thing until I watched the film, and I was just watching him look like a man amongst boys still. So, but,
was he pass rushing against dinosaurs?
Yeah, pretty much dinosaurs, that baby dinosaurs. But yeah, man, I like the idea of sharing this thing up to where there's no pressure, and maybe we can take one of those second tier edge rushers. And by second tier, I mean Jordan Birch. And I know I keep mentioning Jordan Birch. Obviously, he's a guy that I really like, but in this draft class, he would be a second tier guy, and a second tier guy that's 6'5", dang near 300 pounds, that runs a 4.8, 4.9. I could get down with it. So maybe if you're telling me I can live in a world to where I can get a Kenneth Grant and then I can go get a Jordan Birch, and I'm just adding them to Marcus Davenport, and I'm adding them to Zadarius Smith and Aiden Hutchinson, that interests me. That interests me a lot. And if you're telling me I can live in a world to where, and I don't want to give away my mock draft, but I'm living in a world, I'm not going to actually do it because we've already agreed that we're not going to be trading and doing a bunch of goofy stuff. But if you're telling me the Detroit Lions can live in a world to where I can trade back from pick 28 and still be able to get a piece that's going to help me out tremendously, but maybe get an additional second or third round pick in this draft, that's a huge deal. So I really like the pieces that we signed, praying and hoping that lightning doesn't strike twice and we don't have 20 plus players that are going out for huge chunks of the season or IR. And if we stay healthy, I think that we can really push this needle.
It does change my draft plans a little bit. All right. Like I said, I was not planning on Marcus Davenport coming back. I'm not mad about it. I'm not over the moon about it. I'm room temperature about this signing. It could be great. If he plays 12 games, I'd say that we got a steal. So 12 games at a 17-game season, even that's probably still a little low, but with Marcus Davenport's track record, I think 12 games would be absolutely phenomenal for him. So my draft strategy is, it hurts. It hurts, Will. It hurts real bad knowing that I think Mike Green has to come off my list. I think I have to change up my strategy a little bit, and I'm with you that I think defensive tackle is probably now the number one priority. We have to have someone out there to replace Ali McNeil for probably the first 2 months of the seasons, unless he's a freak athlete and he's just recovering a lot faster than what we know. I know we talked about him a little bit, saw him doing a little bit of workouts or whatnot, nothing crazy, but if he's missing the first 2 months, I think we need to go out and get a D tackle now, because I was kind of leaning on either DN, D tackle. My personal preference is DN. So my mock draft that I had the other day, I had Mike Green. It hurts. I think I have to take him off my list now. My next mock draft will probably not be the same. And, my mind's changed a little bit, because I think at the worst case scenario, your two starting defensive ends are probably Aiden Hutchinson, and then take your choice of either Marcus Davenport or Zadarius Smith, whoever's playing the first. That other guy's probably for sure going to be the second string defensive end. So is the other second string defensive end more valuable than the starting defensive tackle? Probably not now. So it does change my strategy a little bit, but I'm not the guy calling the shots, but I do like the signing. I think it provides some depth. I don't know if we're going to get crazy production or a 17-game season out of Davenport, but if he's a guy that doesn't have to take as many snaps, maybe he's able to stay healthier throughout the length of the season. So we'll just have to wait and see, because I don't know. I'm reading your mind all the way from Atlanta, Will.
That's bingo for me. That is literally bingo. Marcus Davenport as a guy that doesn't have to play all of the snaps, and he's a I don't want to say just, but he's a rotational piece. That is a problem. I think that is a problem. And this is a guy that wants to be out there. I'm not going to steal the thunder, but I seen somebody posted on Twitter. They were talking about how when Marcus Davenport got hurt, he came back out with a sleeve on and tried to play. This is a dude, say what you want about his injuries. He wants to be out there. So let's get a rotation going. I'm not going to give the breadcrumbs of my mock draft. But outside of saying this, I want a big, strong, physical, freak opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. And I think that we can do that without necessarily taking that edge guy first. You know what I'm saying? You don't got to necessarily take that guy at pick 28. And if you do, maybe you can trade back and you can still get a defensive tackle. That makes a whole lot of sense. So that's kind of what I'm looking at, man. At this draft, get an extra piece. It's so valuable. As I'm looking through and I'm looking at mock drafts and I'm looking at people, I'm thinking about, man, that dude's still on the board in round 3. And I don't know how true it'll be because I keep seeing mock drafts where Ty Robinson is making it to like the 3rd round.
I've seen him in the 4th round. Come on.
Yeah. I don't know that that'll be the case. I could see him at the top half of the 3rd just because of the questions about his athleticism. I've even seen a couple of NFL scouts saying, yeah, he's explosive north and south, but if you start asking him to go east and west, that's where the problem starts. So I could get him on board with that, with all of the freak athletes. Like I keep seeing these guys, man. I'm looking at offensive linemen the last 2 days, and I'm seeing some of these guys out playing basketball and dunking and dribbling through their legs and shooting threes. And there's these big 300-pound dudes now are freak athletes. It's no more of the days where they just sit around, eat hot dogs, and push people forward. Like that those days are behind us, man. These are guys that are point guards of their basketball teams or playing the 1, the 2, or the 3. They're not just an automatic center, give it to them in a post and they do the ugly work. So I'm interested to see what the Detroit Lions do. I have a path for my side of Detroit Den 313 that I think that for my mock draft that I'm kind of hoping and predicting who the Lions are going to pick every year. Well, I shouldn't say every year, but the past 3 years, Steve, we do this, and then Brad goes and drafts somebody. And last year we had the right pieces last year. We just didn't draft them in order. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see what Brad does to show us why he's the man.
Yeah, I think the last 2 years we've been pretty close on our mock drafts. Going back to the Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, we had those just kind of reversed. We both liked Brian Branch in the 1st round. He ended up falling to the 2nd. We both were kind of iffy, questionable on Sam Laporta, just like, hey, when do you take a tight end? Is it in the 2nd round? But I mean, we mentioned the names that ended up getting drafted. We're just a little off on our order. So maybe one of these days, Stephen will just absolutely hit a full 7-round mock draft and we just predict every single player. I don't know. It's a crapshoot. But I'll say this. Signing Marcus Davenport doesn't hurt the team. All right. So for everyone out there worried and concerned, like, this isn't something that's going to be catastrophic. It's $4 million. If they don't like what they see, they cut them a check, send them home. They could still bring in someone else. They could still draft someone else. They could still sign a Josh Sweat. Like, nothing can really change from Marcus Davenport other than changing his role and making him more of a rotational piece. And his injuries are just kind of like, it's not, I don't know. It's just kind of bad luck, I think. Like, last year was the dirty hit. Like, it's not like he's tearing ACLs or going out there every week and he just keeps tearing something. It's just, I feel like he has some bad luck. So maybe if the football gods have a little mercy on us this year and they look at last year and say, hey man, this team was absolutely decimated. Let's give them a break this year. Marcus Davenport could be a player we're talking about after a Super Bowl win as a huge X factor for me. So this doesn't hurt the team in any type of way. It's just kind of a little surprising because I just personally thought he was gone after he got hurt last year.
Last thing I'll say about Marcus Davenport is this. For me, this coming season, Marcus Davenport is my Emmanuel Mosley. And what I mean by that is I'm really cheering for him, man, because he did his press conference and he seems kind of awkward. And I just feel like he's getting a bad rap. A lot of people are talking trash about him. and I feel like it's undeserved. So I would love for him to come out, and not even for the selfish reasons of helping out our squad, man, but just to get the opportunity to bounce back. Hasn't been able to be on the field a whole lot the last few seasons because he's still relatively young. I think he's like 28 years old or something like that. So
he'll be 29 at the start of the season.
Okay, so bounce back and get an opportunity, man, to cause some havoc, be able to play to his full potential, man, and just feel good about the season that he puts out there. And ultimately, that ends with him earning his family some money, because if he goes out and plays with some durability and has a great season, he's getting a bag the following season because he's got that type of talent. Now, will that bag come for the Detroit Lions? Probably not, because the edge rusher that we still draft in this year's draft will probably hit the ground running at some point during the season, and that'll probably be who we pass the torch to. But all things aside, I'm cheering for the dude, man.
My last question, hot question. I'll let you answer this. Does signing Marcus Davenport end the dreams for Lions fans of wanting to trade for Trey Hendrickson or Myles Garrett?
Those dreams ended for me a long time ago. So I guess I could say yes, but it even pushes us further away from doing something like that. But those weren't real dreams for me. And like I said, I know everybody was kind of like, not everybody, but a lot of people like, man, you guys don't want to win. You guys don't want to do this. No, I want to win desperately. Like, we've been Lions fans our whole lives. Like we want nothing more but to win the big one. So that's exactly what we want. I just don't see that being what Brad would do. And honestly, I agree with him, and I love what he's doing. I love that he's putting his team together, and he's putting his team together for longevity. So we're going to continue to sign guys that are playing unbelievable, and we're to a point in this roster where we're going to lose guys that are playing darn good football. I just hope it's not guys like, I know it won't be Aiden, but I hope it's not guys like Kirby Joseph. I hope we haven't reached the spot in the roster where he feels like we can lose guys like Kirby Joseph because he's a monster.
Easiest position to play in football, according to Monroe St. Brown. So just keep that in mind. Yeah. Anything else for today?
That's it, man.
Will's on his way back home. He's going to gather his things, pack up the U-Haul. Then he's heading right back down to Atlanta, where the kids are starting school at the beginning of next year. He's finalizing his move. I see the bling on the wrist. Like he's really embracing his Southern style down there, just blinging out. You know, it's all just a show, folks. Don't believe anything he says. He is in fact moving to Atlanta. It's a permanent thing. Kids are in school. I personally spoke to his youngest son the other day, who said, yes, I went and picked up my school. I met my teacher. Like, it's happening, folks. Hit that subscribe button. We'll be back later with another show.
Peace.